Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, all praise, all honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and I've got this article pulled up. It's from endtimeheadlines.org. Came out February 8th of 2026. And it says the state of, which when I'm saying the state of, I'm talking about the state of the tiny tops. It says warns Emperor Nero, which you should know who I'm speaking of there. It says we may act alone if Iran crosses ballistic missile red line. And I'm speaking in that way to keep these videos up because they will pull it just for mentioning them. It says the state of's defense officials recently told their Babylonian counterparts, so America, aka Babylon, that Iran's ballistic missile program represents an existential threat and that the City of Peace is prepared to act unilaterally if necessary, which is funny. That's what that name means, but they're anything but the City of Peace. They are death and hell. They're continually gathered for war. As the scripts say in Psalms 140. It says, according to security sources, the state of's intentions to dismantle Iran's missile capabilities and produce infrastructure were conveyed in recent weeks through a series of high-level exchanges. Military officials outlined operational concepts to degrade the program, including strikes on key manufacturing sites. We told the Babylonians we will strike alone if Iran crosses the red line we set on ballistic missiles, the source said, adding that the state of is not yet at that threshold, but is continuously tracking developments inside Iran. And this, they keep pushing for this battle, but this is the battle that takes them out. That you don't get to rule wickedness for very long. In this battle they're pushing is going to lead into the Great War, World War III. The third woe, as the scriptures call it. It says the official stressed that the state of reserves freedom of action and emphasized that it will not allow Iran to restore strategic weapon systems on a scale that threatens the state of's existence. One defense official described the current moment as a historic opportunity to deliver a significant blow to Iran's missile infrastructure and neutralize active threats to the state of and neighboring states. They want to put them down because they won't take on one of their banks. And this is going to lead to them going down. And Lord will, they actually initiate this, and the scripts speak to that. They're the ones, that small state, that state of, these Ezekiel 36, actually let's go there first, because these aren't the people. Actually, let's go to Isaiah 26 and 10 first, and then, Lord willing, we go to Ezekiel 36 and 5. Isaiah 26 and 10. Let favor be showed to the wicked. The wicked are the Edomites, the biblical Edomites. And the biblical Edomites nowadays are called white people, and they are called those tiny tops. And those are the people known as the wicked of the Bible. It's a race. Yes, there's wicked people within every nation of the scripts, but this nation in particular are known as the wicked, these Edomites. And the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. So they're calling themselves the Lord's people, and they've pushed around that false image of JC all around the earth. But it lets you know earth is given into their hands for this moment. It's a temporary time that it's in their hands, but it's currently in their hands, but we're coming into their end. That's why they're being exposed. That's why I'm even able to call them Edomites. And this was given from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai down to our apostles and elders of the great millstone. It says, yet will he not learn righteousness. So they're in a highly favored position. They're bossing around the biggest nation on the earth with the biggest military, saying, hey, we're going to cross this. If they cross our line, we're gonna strike them. They're in a highly favored position. And this goes for all Edomites. It's waning because the Lord's putting the curses on them now. But they've been in a highly favored position, and they've been able to push their ways and influence around the earth. But they still don't do righteousness. They're in this influential and favored position, but what do they push? They push feminism. They push alphabet lifestyles. They push whatever's in those reports. That's what they push around. They push all these philosophies, and they push their violence around, starting wars here and there. It says, in the land of uprightness, which is the land that they're currently in, the land of Israel, will he deal unjustly and will not behold the majesty of the Lord. And they are dealing unjustly. Even these statements, they're just after Iran. And they're going to start this war unjustly. But this is the part where they get spewed out of the land. But just to show that these are Edomites in the land of uprightness, dealing unjustly, highly favored. This is Ezekiel 36:5. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, everyone outside of the nation of Israel, and against all Idumea. Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom, which are those tiny tops over there in the land. And to be specific, they're actually Amalekites. They're basically the head nation of Idumea. But he's going to come down on all of Idumea. So everywhere Edomites are all around the world, no matter what color they look like, because they've spread themselves. So they're going to come back looking brown and looking like so-called Negroes, looking like so-called East Indians, looking like Chinese, looking like Africans, looking like Ishmaelites. The Lord's coming after all of Idumea, every single one of them, of that bloodline through their fathers. Because why? It says, which have appointed my land into their possession, it's in the Balfour Declaration, with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. They are glorying in trying to say they're the Lord's people, but they're not. The fact that they're in the land currently shows that they are not the Lord's people, because there will be no war when the true people return. These are those bastards that dwell in Ashdod, which is just outside of modern-day Tel Aviv. Jeremiah 49 and verse 14. Getting back to the war talk. It says, I have heard a rumor from the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen. The Lord has put the spirit on these heathen nations to rise up against these Western Edomites, particularly here in Babylon the Great, aka America, but also the ones that are in the Lord's land calling themselves the Lord's people. Spirit's on them for these nations to take them out in war, which is about to get started. So it's saying, gather you together and come against her and rise up to the battle. So they are getting prepared. That's why we've been seeing for the last few years these military parades building up in these other nations, and them boosting up their arsenals and their technologies, because this great battle is yet to come. It says, "For lo, I have made thee small among the heathen." This is speaking to Edom, to Idumea, as it was called in Ezekiel 36:5. So-called white people, including the tiny tops, as well as they're scattered. They're being made small among the heathen. That word small goes into size, it goes into age, and it goes into significance. And that's, they're losing significance. They're losing their numbers as well. They're dying off, and they're not replacing it. That's their fault for pushing feminism. That was to tear up families. And now their families are being torn up, and they're not replacing themselves as they should. Shows you that they are the adversary, which is Satan's name means adversary. And they're adverse to the Lord's ways. The Lord said, "Be fruitful and multiply." And these devils come up with eugenics and feminism and birth control and all these ways to make you non-fruitful. This is the devil. These are the devils of the Bible. These are Satan's people. They're adverse to his ways. It says, "Thy terribleness hath deceived thee." It's Edom speaking to you. "And the pride of thine heart, and they are the most proud. O that thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock," Caucasians, "that holdest the height of the hill," because they are at the top of the social structure over everyone, especially Amalek. It says that they were the first of the nations. It says, "Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle," that's their spirit animal, the eagle, "I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai." You're coming down. You're coming out of power. Right now, you're being called out. People are ostracizing you, and you're being made less and less significant every single day, and your numbers are dying off. 17, also, "Edom shall be a desolation." Speaking to the people, the Lord's going to take every single one of them that pisseth against the wall off of this earth. They won't have any seed on this earth anymore, which will make them a desolation. Basically, what they're trying to do, those people in the land, those Ishmaelites in the land, that's going to eventually happen to them, and thoroughly. It says, "Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof." The Lord's putting all these curses on you, and eventually it's going to be a point where you just don't exist anymore, but people are going to read about it in history books and be astonished and know that these are the people of the Lord's cursed to judgment. "As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah," Sodom and Gomorrah went out with fire, "and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord, no man shall abide there." They're going to go out through nuclear fire. Their greatest invention is actually going to destroy them. "Neither shall a son of man dwell in it. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the habitation of the strong." Yahushai is coming back. "But I will suddenly make him run away from her, and who is a chosen man, that I may appoint over her. For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time, and who is that shepherd that will stand before me?" This is why we put all our faith and trust into Yahushai, because he's going to come. And Isaiah 63, these people, "Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra?" He's coming to put them down and to remove them from power. Verse 20, this was the point. It says, "Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai that he hath taken against Edom," so-called white people, including the tiny tops. And I'm going to say this, not every single white person, not every single tiny top. You have to come through your father's lineage from Esau to be an Edomite. There's some so-called white people that come through their father's lineage from Israelites, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And then there's some so-called white people that, through their father's lineage, come from the other nations. It's not every single one of them that is so quote-unquote white or quote-unquote a tiny top, but for the most part, that is that nation. That is that wicked nation. Who's been ruling? Who passed laws to make themselves better and above? Who has pushed around white supremacy, which is really just Edomite supremacy? It's that pride of their heart, and it's all that thing, those things they gloried in are now being turned into shame. That's who it is. There's no other way. If it wasn't true, they would have proved it wrong a long time ago. You can't prove it wrong. Alexander the Great was an Edomite. These people are Edomites. It says Esau is the end of the world, Jacob's the beginning of it that follows. Who is currently at rule at the end of the world? So-called white people, including the tiny tops. Those are your Edomites. That's Esau. In his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. This is the point. The least of the flock are these tiny tops. That state of that's over there raising all sorts of havoc and hell. And they're going to draw the nations out into World War III, the third woe. And they're going to have Babylon or America ally with them, but it's going to be against the rest of the world. Even their beast system, NATO and the EU, turns against them. And then Russia, China, Iran, which is called Persia in the scriptures, as well as their other allies, are going to fire nuclear missiles onto both the state of and onto Babylon, America. And that's how they're going to go out. That's how their power structure falls. Yahushua is also going to come and deliver fire from the chariots, and it's just going to be a great fire. And then eventually, after 1,000 years of captivity, there's going to be a great bonfire lit, and they're going to go running headfirst into it because their torment on this earth will be so much. Obadiah 1 and 18, and they will be taken off of this earth. So surely the least of the flock, the state of, shall draw them out, because they are small in number. They're small in size, in age as well. They're one of the newest countries on this earth. And no, I won't say that, but yeah, that's the least of the flock. It says, surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. This doesn't work out for them in the way that they think it's going to work out. It says, the earth is moved at the noise of their fall. Because there's the ICBMs, which they said is their red line. So you guys are about to start this, and then you're going to cry when you're completely taken out. It says that the cry, the noise thereof, was heard in the Red Sea. Behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle. Well, it's funny because that's their spirit animal. But Yahushua is going to fly as the eagle and spread his wings over Basra. This was one of their capital cities in Edom. And at that day, and Basra also represents them. They're people before their place as well. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom, Adawam, be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. They are going to completely falter. They're not going to be able to stand against Yahushua coming back with that fire from the chariots and with these nukes flying and them being in complete shame and being made insignificant on this earth. They're going out, rightfully so. These are a bunch of Satanists and blood drinkers, sacrificers of children. This is the basis of man that the Lord has lifted up for a moment, but He's coming to put the world back in order, and it starts with them being removed from any power whatsoever. And so, Lord willing, they go ahead and spark this up. But if not now, it's coming. They can't last forever. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, all praise, all honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakach, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.